Cool. So how are you doing?
Yeah, spot on. Really good, thanks.
Cool.
Thanks.
So I wanted to, just I've kind of been reflecting lots over like the last few years of like coaching and stuff, and actually thought if I hadn't have had coaching, I don't know quite what I'd be doing right now. So it was a bit of a, like all of this stuff that I've learned over the years. Like obviously we've worked together for like, I think it's about, it'll be 3 years this year actually. Like, yeah. And so I thought it'd just give an opportunity to kind of talk about kind of the processes that you've take businesses through and how you help, because times like now, it's like the most crucial time, isn't it? Like anybody needs a coach, and you've been putting out so much great content in terms of like your webinars and stuff. Like even though some of it I've been through, I'm still jumping on because it's so useful, and I just think, people benefit hugely from having a coach. So.
It's fascinating right now because everything's been sped up. So what the development lights and going online, getting the marketing right, getting the sales right, all of that meant like 5 years worth of like business growth or business change that normal people would have gone through has had to happen in sort of 5 or 6 weeks. It's incredible. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, cool. So introduce yourself. Tell us how you got into coaching, how it all began.
Yeah, sound. So Luke Kay from ActionCOACH, based in Liverpool. So I got into coaching, I think it was for maybe 5 years ago now, not 100% sure. Might be 5 actually. And I was working for Carillion. I was doing pretty well. In the business. I was running the prison sector at about 50 odd sites underneath me, and all the major projects in terms of construction projects. So all sorts of stuff from generators for refurbs, new big roofs and all that sort of stuff. But just wasn't happy with how the company was going in terms of like values. And I was hearing a few warning signs, as you're probably aware, that Carillion didn't do so well. He's not quite around anymore. But I was hearing a couple of warning signs. I was like, well, this is a bit strange. And I wanted to get into eventually buying and selling businesses. And I liked like small businesses, like entrepreneurs, and dealing with those types of successful people. Wanted to have a bit more impact locally. In terms of creating jobs and adding value to people, like real people, not just making money for shareholders offshore, and have a bigger impact. I had a pretty decent business knowledge. I don't know, just managed to grasp it, or my mind sort of understands it in terms of like how to structure it and what needs to be done, and like growing people. So I was like, right, let's have a go at this coaching malarkey, and then never look back really. And then after that, it was interesting. Probably luckily that. I think Carillion went bust about 2 years after I'd left. But luckily for me is that if I hadn't have gone when I was gone, I might have struggled to get my coaching business going. But luckily I'd already earned my stripes in terms of coaching. The results I'd had with clients before that went bust, so it didn't really affect me too much. But I'm glad I did go when I did, because if I'd have left Carillion, then they might go, you're just trying to get into coaching because Carillion's gone bust. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's all timing, isn't it? Like,
absolutely.
So for anyone that hasn't had a coach or worked with a coach or know what coaching is, what is coaching?
Cool. So the best way to describe like coaching, or like why somebody might need a coach, or what it is, if you think about like a professional sports athlete or any high level elite business owner, like let's stick with sport for the time being, you wouldn't dream of going to the Olympic Games without having a coach. You wouldn't, you don't get athletes going to the Olympic Games without having a coach. And that's because it's, you need outside advice and outside guidance, direction, pressure in order to get the best out of yourself. And there's not a single high level sports athlete that's not got a coach and not got advisors. And there's not a single business owner that's made some serious money or got to serious heights that's not had a coach or a mentor. There's lots of coach and mentors out there, and it's mainly for people who are really serious about growing the business and really want to get there. Yes, you can do all right without a coach. You can sort of survive and plot, push through. But back to the sport analogy, it's interesting. The more elite you go, the more coaches you have around you. If you think about the top boxers in the world, or the top like footballers, they all have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coaches. One's on the coach of the defence, like the meal, all that sort of stuff. And, you know, they are the performer. I don't do the performance. They do the, you know, my coachee, the person I'm coaching does the performance, but you've got to have that outside advice and guidance. If you think about, like, I was listening to a webinar the other day, shout out to Chris Dawson from Sixth Door, but he was talking about like Neymar. I think he bought for 198 million pounds, whatever it was, going to PSG. Next morning, what was he doing? He was doing training. He was being coached. He had a team of coaches around him. So even if you think the finished article, that's, you know, the higher up you get, the more you need a coach to push you and get the best out of you. So yeah, and in terms of my specific sort of like coaching methodology or what I do, because different types of coaches, from people just like mindset, or people just do like networking or about culture, whatever. Me specifically, I help business owners who want to create more profit than they ever thought they could, and also build financial wealth as well. So not only do we get the business making a hell of a lot more profit than what they thought they were going to do, but we also look at building financial wealth, which is get the business so it can work without you, so it's an asset, and also what we do with the money that we're getting each month or each year, and then investing that into other assets that are going to pay long term and ultimately, so we don't have to worry about money, or kids don't have to worry about money anymore, or so that's where we're trying to get to with it all. So yeah, that's a bit about how what a coach is, or how that works.
Yeah. And would you say you have a particular style of coaching?
Well, you've probably been on the other end of it, to be honest. But people don't necessarily pay me to be nice to them. They pay me to be like, because the other thing about coaching is that you can't, it's tough to be objective on yourself. It's tough to understand what you've done, what you're not doing, and sometimes you can't, almost you can't see the label on the jam jar from the inside of the jam jar, right? You can't see the wood from the trees, all that sort of stuff. So you need, it is useful to have a coach to reflect, to push you, challenge you, call you out on stuff, your beliefs, your behaviours, not doing stuff. And my coach is certainly tough, in the right, in the right context. You need to have a right, level of support and challenge. But a lot of you've probably been on the rough end of it. If you haven't, if you committed something that's really important, then not done it. You certainly know about it. And there's different ways that you can make, put pressure on somebody, to make them to get a result. But ultimately, it's down to what they want. That's my first, obviously being cruel to be kind, and being tough. Second sort of philosophy that I have with coaching and how I coach is very numbers based. So in business, you need to, numbers is the language of business. So you need to have, from marketing and sales to operations to finances, everything should be the stuff that we can measure, because we can't manage that we don't measure, and we can't improve what we don't manage. So it all starts with measuring it. And also, again, when I mentioned before about, it's about making profit in the business. So unless we're tracking our numbers and knowing where we're up to and what's working, what's not, how do we start making more profit? The other things I've got is into, like, philosophy is big on learning. So the more you learn, the more you earn. The analogy of if you were deadlifting 100k, if you do that over, the 100k is still the weight of the barbell. If you get stronger, the weight doesn't get less. You just get better. And it's the same with business. Business is still going to be the same level of hardness. Obviously, COVID's got a little bit harder. But the better you get, the easier it seems to become. So we've got to work on developing ourselves. And the last one is building financial wealth as well, not just working hard in the business for no end. We need to get the business, working without you, and, invest in the money that we do make properly, whether it's property or other businesses or whatever that might be. So they're my four philosophies. Be tough and be direct and to the point, be numbers based, get better and learn and develop, and then build financial wealth.
I actually use the nice nothing inside cares enough.
The
other week, chatting with the team, it's that, like you say, that kind of tough love and learning as well. And I think I look back to this kind of the first sessions that I had, coming to you, and just the difference that it made in terms of even just learning and knowing, like, about yourself as well, and having those values and stuff. It was
it's on we call it nothing inside cares enough, because if I'm nice to you, it just means I don't care, right? Because if I just let you get away with the shit that you know you should be doing, then sorry for swearing, but if I get, if I let you get away with stuff that you know you should be doing, then I'm not being your coach. Just be nice to you. You may as well not bother, right? So you've got to be, it's down to it's not for my benefit, it's for the coach's benefit. Coaching works in, if you think about like, I'm not the hero in the coaching situation. I'm the mentor. The person who's delivering is the hero. And there's a challenge, whether it's success or barriers in the way or whatever it might be. And it's about getting that person to achieve what they want. Nothing to do with me. So I'm not doing it for my own benefit. When I'm being tough, I'm doing it for the person I'm coaching's benefit. And then other analogy you mentioned about education and learning. The good thing about, I'm part of a massive community called ActionCOACH. We've got 1,000 coaches in 80 countries. We're learning we have a call every single morning, sharing, for an hour every single morning, sharing learnings from around the world, what's working for marketing, what's working for sales. And you as a business owner, you just don't have the time to absorb all that knowledge. So the knowledge that I'm passing on, it's not just my own experiences or what I've learned. It's from, 1,000 coaches coaching, tens of thousands of businesses every year. You don't have the opportunity to learn all that. So part of the coaching is getting an education based on what people are doing globally and in the country and in the area, different market sectors, different sizes, different personality types. Different. The world's changing so fast in terms of like marketing, for example, and the sales. So yeah, it's all them things that you get out of coaching.
I think it's like definitely being held accountable, and I think especially as businesses start and grow, that's what people don't have, and it's it is really hard. And I think that's one of the most valuable things, is having somebody to and kind of impart that knowledge, and then, like you say, train from all of their coaches and all their experience, and then actually hold you accountable and say, well, if you've not done that, why not? Because you've got you do only have yourself, don't you? A lot of small businesses are just themselves. So it's so in terms of like, have you had lots of highs and lows in terms of being a coach? Like anything particularly?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this the other day, actually, in terms of like, what would I call, like, what's a high and what's a low. And when I was thinking about that, the first thing that came to mind is probably like my first major high, and that was probably with a past client called James Harper from Walton Flooring Centre. I don't know how long we were working for him at the time, maybe a year or 9 months or 18 months. I can't remember how long we were working together. But when we first sat down with him, he wanted to be his vision was, some people want to make loads of money, some people want to get it to sell it. Some people, there's loads of different people, but his vision was to become the best company in the area, not just it's a carpet company, but not just carpets, but the best company across all sectors. So we worked on that, getting the best culture, getting the best team, best customer service, all of the good things that you need to become a great company, doing stuff for charity, giving back, in terms of reviews and just getting, screwing all around a great company. And then we got a shout out to Caroline, who did a lot of the PR stuff at the time.
Awards,
and the awards. So we put in for a series of awards. Anyway, we went in and we won Merseyside Independent Business Retailer of the Year, which was an incredible feat, because I don't think anyone had won it before without being shortlisted or something like that. So it was just incredible, really. And when we won that award, just seeing like the joy on James's face, like I was at the awards dinner, it was just that was probably like my first like wow, that was that comes to me, that was an incredible time. And then we ended up winning loads. So we won like Knowsley Business of the Year, like Retail of the Year. Then we won like a BAF award, which is now called BIZEC, which is like Europe, Middle East and Africa, like Young Entrepreneur of the Year. I think he won back Business Expansion International DIY Awards or something like that. We won a whole host of awards that year. So it was just it was pretty incredible. And that sort of springs to mind when you say what was like my early highs or one of my first like things that like memorable. But every single business owner gets, success is in the eye of the beholder. It's not for me to say what successful is and what success isn't, but what it is for me to understand is what is that my person, I'm coaching success, and then if I have to drag them kicking and screaming to their own success, then I'm happy to do that. And for example, with you and the change we've made and growing the team and all that sort of stuff, and the delight on your face when we're doing that, it means it's like heartwarming, and people looking into getting like buying the first, the second property and investments is good. People like, well, I've made next to 100 grand this year, or 300 grand this year, or even like some, millions. Some people like, well, I've had £1 million on the bottom line this year. It's so they all mean, as much, but that was like the first like one that sort of sticks out.
I can imagine that it's not always it's not about the numbers. It is sometimes that kind of, I guess as well, that realization on somebody's face when actually they can realize that they can do it, that they've done it, and almost that sense of like stress relief as well from seeing, I guess from a business owner that comes to you completely in chaos and panic about what they need to do, and then just seeing the clarity kind of unfold and then getting stronger and that, like,
there's no better like reward from that feedback, like, oh, we've worked on this. I said this, we worked on this, and then we've done it, and then it's like it's happened, and I've got the benefit. Or like some of the clients, like, not being able to go on holiday for years, and then suddenly it's like, I've been on holiday for 3 weeks and my business is still here. Like, what is got, like things like that, or like when the partners come in and say, I'm like really happy with it, or kids being happy with it, or and like you say, maybe like learning new skills, or let's say they were scared to do something, and then they've committed to doing it, and then they've done it. So yeah, the great thing about coaching, from a like selfish perspective, is that you get constantly getting feedback, so in terms of like, positive. They don't necessarily say it, but you can see like the joy in the face, or how things are changing, and knowing that they're growing as people. Like, some clients have thanked me during this time because we've been building the business so much, and getting the business in a strong, sturdy position cash flow wise, and cash at bank and sales, marketing process, and all that sort of stuff. And they're like, wow, if I wouldn't be, this would have killed us. The challenge right now has killed us, but actually we're actually all right, and probably going to come out of it at the other end in a stronger position than a lot of our competitors. And then there's all sorts we can do from that. We can go hard on the marketing, we can buy other businesses up. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that kind of leads on to like, why is it so important now to have, and in this time, unprecedented, challenging of having a coach, because exactly what you just said, like, it's not only kind of the structure and the number, the sales and marketing, but a big thing that I took from a lot of that we went through is the team development as well, and that kind of team communication, and building that, having a company that the values and ethos is so sort of embedded that that makes it easier to get through something like this, because you've got your whole team behind you as well.
Yeah, so there's probably a few ways to answer that. The first way is obviously when we were going in, because there's so many coaches around the world, some countries were like, it was happening, there were 2 weeks ahead of us or 3 weeks ahead of us. We had the feedback from like what's worked, what's not, whether it's for like restaurants, like takeaways, or engineering, like with the feedback about what they were doing and how they could pivot, and what's working, what's not. A lot of businesses, needed to go online, and like they might not have known that. Obviously we were doing webinars about taking your marketing online, and advising all the clients if they if they didn't have the skill set around that, but they had to getting them the skill set, doing cash flow forecasts, getting the numbers right, understanding where you are objectively, knowing how to do a marketing plan but talking about going forward, why it's a good idea to have a coach now, whether you work with me or whoever, might not be in this part of the country, part of the world, or whatever, is that you need to come out of this, and you need to come out of this, fighting like you're starting up your business again, which is, and ultimately you might have some, we might be delivering products already, or products and services, and then you're going to be, might have some sales from past customers, but ultimately it's like you're starting again, because you need to get the marketing working, marketing might have changed because you're more online. So you need to have a clear marketing plan. Who's my target market? What's my offer to them? And how am I going to go about putting that out? You need to build a sales process that might need to be, online. And and we need to be objective with all of them numbers, and we don't have the time to. You don't have the time right now to spend 2-3 years figuring it out.
No.
Right? What you do need is somebody who's worked with multiple businesses before in that area, getting constant daily feedback, so having daily calls about what's working, what's not, what's changing, what's not, so that you can implement stuff that you know is going to work, or if it doesn't work, you can sort of change it quick. So that's probably the biggest thing. Why it's important to have a coach right now is that we haven't got time is not on our side in terms of getting the business started and getting going again. And if time's not our side, we haven't got time to make mistakes or achieve by learn by our mistakes type thing. We just need to get the right information, the right knowledge, and decisive action to get going again.
No, absolutely. It's I don't think I've used my brain and my creative side as much in the last 8 weeks as what I've done probably in the last couple of years, and it's been weird because I've actually thrived in it. And it is that whole, and I think you just think that one of the very first sort of webinar things that you did up during this is that sort of survive, thrive. Well, it's flight, freeze, and what's the other one?
Fight.
That's
the one after.
Yeah.
The first two. You want to be fighting coming out of that.
Absolutely, and that's what we've done, and like we've said, right, we're going to show up, we're going to go above and beyond, we're going to be everywhere, because we know that not everyone's doing that, and it's but it's ignited that passion in me again to be like, and it's given me time to do all the things I've actually wanted to do because I've been forced to do it. So,
and you want to be that leader as well, that's supporting, that's out there. In times of crisis, you have obviously pressure. There's lots of pressure, and people deal with pressure in different ways. So if we are, if we've got that pressure, like you say, we can freeze or we can run away from it, or what we want to do is that fight instinct, and that's that critical moment pressure that, when that happens, what's our response? And luckily, your response was, right, push forward, not push back, because pushing back is not the best strategy. I know people are like, well, we're just going to mothball, or we're just going to cut back everything, just wait this out. It's like, you do hibernate. Well, hibernation is what animals do, and what they've done is they've got fat for 6 months so they can see them through the winter. Quite frankly, half of you haven't got fat, you haven't got cash in the bank, so you haven't got time to wait it out. Do you know what I mean? You haven't so you've got to push forward, and you've got mental endurance that comes into that. You've got the fight or flight, you've got and what you've done is the right thing to do in those critical moments. The main thing is to be decisive with our decisions. So we can't wait around and float around half-hearted. We've got to go, no, this is the decision I'm making, this is what I'm going to do, and be decisive and really push hard on decisions. Now, we can always go back on them if wrong decision, but no good waiting 3, 4, 5 weeks.
No.
Decision now, and if it doesn't work after a week or two, we can go back on it. We're still 3 weeks ahead of where we would have been if we hadn't made the decision.
Yeah, and that some sort of with the team and sort of other people that I've spoken to, because it's things like decisions to furlough like staff and things like that, and they're like, gosh, it's really hard decisions. And I've said, well, actually, it's not a hard decision. It's an easy decision because it's the right decision, and we have to do it to survive. Because if we don't make that decision quick and now, we won't be around as a business in 9 months, a year's time. So in that case, it's not a hard decision. It's easy because it has to be done. And I think for kind of thinking about it, it's you lose time, like you say.
And that comes into in terms of like coaching, or even if you have not a coach, having the object, being able to make them objective, decisive decisions, because you can't afford to wait with some of these decisions. But the worst decision we can make is almost to do nothing. But making the wrong decision is not as bad as not making the decision quite often, because we can always go back on a wrong decision. But we can't go back on a decision not made yet. No,
very true.
So we've got to be decisive and objective with our decision making. Interesting.
Yeah. In terms of like your because I know you've got coaches as well. You said so, but who's like your coaching idol, or the person that you quote the most, go to the most. I probably think I know who it is, but yeah, go.
Just who would you think it would be?
I think probably Jim Rohn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you know what? He wasn't the first person that came to mind, but a lot of the people that I've learned off, I've learned from him.
Yeah.
And I have learned a lot of like my philosophy around like building wealth and about being objective and about learning and about like from listen to, if there's a gym, I've listened to hours and hours and
Yeah,
hours
same.
of Jim Rohn, not the same one over and over, like all the different ones he's done from like all different. I think the day that there's all different ones that are interested in his book, Seven Strategies and Wealth. But who would I say my sort of coaching idols? Well, to be honest, I'm lucky enough to be coached by a lot of them. To be honest, I've one of the knacks of being a great coach is making sure that you get a good coach to coach you, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to a couple. I've mentioned a few names that I think have really helped me, and luckily I'm still still coached by them or still advised them by them. The first one is a chap called James Vincent. So he been to 2 Olympic Games. He was involved in like sport, high performance sports psychology for Team GB.
Yeah.
And then he's moved into the business coaching world. So what I've learned from him and what he's taught me and what he teaches is like a lot of the like high performance mindset principles and also how you're tracking an athlete in terms of like the stats and what they're going to do to get better and to improve that them as a machine, bringing that all over into business really. So I'm still coach with him, still speaking with him every week. He does a lot of the webinars and he's the performance director for ActionCOACH UK. So I'm literally learning from him on this morning, probably 2 or 3 times a week. Luckily enough, he's a really intelligent guy, and he's friends in the coaching world with the likes of Marshall Goldsmith, who coached the CEO of Google, CEO of Ford, Steve Peters, who coached Steven Gerrard and Ronnie O'Sullivan, and all really top coaches. He's in that arena, and then brings that to me. And the other coaches around. So that's interesting. There's another chap called John Asquith who taught me. He's just quite frankly the best sales trainer I think there is, to be honest. He's really, really incredible. Just his knowledge about just the sales, and you can just go straight to the point and find out what the problem is. Learned so much about building sales process, about asking questions and about mindset and everything. He's just phenomenal. And then the third one would be my current from my more regular coach who's Vic. So he coaches me, and if a few of my clients, I sometimes get into growth clubs every now and again, and he's just straight to the point. If you think I'm scary, I'm still I had a coaching session with him on when was it, on Wednesday. I'm still getting I'm still a bit traumatized, in terms of how it just does not take any rubbish. I've still got his pressure on me now, even though I haven't spoke to him in 4 or 5 days. I can still hear his voice in my head, which is interesting. He buys and sells businesses every year. Last 4 or 5 companies he's taken to over 100 countries when he's been CEO of them companies. And he was the first CEO of ActionCOACH as well after Brad's number 2, and took it from 2 to about 80 countries as well. So yeah, he coaches me. He lives in Australia now. He's from Brisbane, and he's just very to the point. Doesn't he let me finish what I'm saying, and he's already turned me off.
But it works though. It works though, doesn't it? It's
he's got no patience. His patience is it just doesn't have any. That's what I like. I like him being tough on me and having to present. If I don't get a message across, he'll just crush me. Like what I'm trying to say, he just crushes me. So yeah, interesting.
And I think that's some of the things people sort of say, well, is coaching hard, and it's it is, because it pushes you. And I know there were times when I'd come out of a session and just think, oh my god, that was really harsh, oh my god, and maybe felt like it was a little unfair, and just think oh my god, I'm not doing that again. But then the day after, you sit there and you go, oh my god, that was so right. Like, I needed to be pushed that way, and I needed that to happen because, oh my God, the clouds have just cleared, and yeah, it's exactly what I needed. So it's yeah, it is. There's different level, isn't it? Of yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a saying that we have between us in Action Coach. Is always like, nobody wants coaching.
Yeah.
Nice thing to have done to you, or people done to you. But what people do want is the results of being coached.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to win the gold medal, or you want to you need to get a good coach under you on your belt to drive you and push you, and the results of coaching, and whether we get on personal level or not, well, we're sure as hell going to get on when you see your bank balance at the end, in 12 months time.
Yeah,
You might not think I'm my friend, but then when you start seeing the money you're making and how your business is moving forward, you're going to go, oh, it's not that bad.
yeah. So in terms, like, because I was saying, like, I think yeah, like 3 years this year since kind of I first kind of reached out to you, and the change, like, in my personal life, it's just completely different. But like, what can you see of the journey that you've taken me on from when I started to kind of where we are now, that like the difference is kind of case study for you on what you've done?
I'll tell you what you've done. Normally, the coaching world, I'd say, no, you tell me. But for the purpose of this, So I think probably the biggest thing that's gone through is gone from like having a job or to being like a marketing person into being a marketing business owner. That's probably the biggest shift that we've been, and what therefore what that means is, or what you've had to put in place is, you've had to become a great leader, you've had to become a great manager, you've had to understand like financials in terms of profit and loss, in terms of cash flow. You've had to get the right talent in to the business so they can work, run the business on your behalf and do some of that. So you've had to recruit, talent have left. You've had to do all of that from a like a leadership and a team perspective. Obviously, in terms of like your marketing has had to, step up as you launch new products, and, and almost getting you to think of your business as your first client.
Yeah.
Your first marketing client, ultimately is you. Same as my first business that I'm coaching is my coaching business, right? So, and thinking about, right, well, I'm doing all this great stuff for all my clients and they're getting great results and all that sort of stuff. Well, right, we need to put some time aside to be growing my business, because there's, you've got that personality where you just want to help people and want to support, everyone else. And sometimes that can bite in the, in the proverbial backside, because, you're not necessarily, pushing your own business forward and doing the marketing plans and the marketing strategies and that you should be doing. I remember when, remember at Christmas when we sent those packs out, you got like a little bag and a postcard and that would be something that you do for your clients and get a good result and people get interested, generate leads and get business. It's like, well, if you were Marketing Collective were a client of yours, what would you do? See, like that's why, a bit like coaching works. You don't have that objective thinking. It's like, well, if Marketing Collective were a client of yours and you wanted to get them lead, generate leads and generate new business, what would you do with them? Right, what would the marketing calendar look like? So yeah, I think understanding that, you're a business and you need to market for yourselves is interesting. I think talking about talent and acquisition, you have, as a business, like you've what's the word? Pivot is probably the terminology that we use right now, but you've added other marketing channels on to add even more value to your client base and future new clients as well. So that's been interesting. Once we've got financials and leadership and team sorted, we've then looked at, right, what other services can we offer to our current client base, which is interesting. And then, and getting those to market, selling them, getting them to work. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things, I think, isn't it? In terms of like, how your business has evolved to be adding even more value to, your current client base. So yeah, they're probably the main things. And also you as a person. So like, you're much you're like a proper business owner now. Like you're strong, make decisive decisions. You run it like a business. You support your team. You push education. You have your regular team meetings. You have regular training. You have your client checkup calls. To reviewing where clients are up to, how we're adding more value. You have your sales meet. All of them things as you built a team and managing the team and just having that sort of like business owner mindset rather than like maybe almost an employee mindset, which I think a lot of business owners have really, especially if you start a business. If you've been employed, it's tough to get into that business owner mindset.
Yeah.
What would you say?
You were going to do that. No, I would agree. I would definitely say, I think the first time that I came into your office, like those, and I was definitely an employee. I was in a panic situation of not really knowing what I do, how to do it, even if I really wanted to be in business, I think. But yeah, that's completely different. I do definitely feel more of a leader. And I can remember, I think some of the first goals that we wrote down as to kind of what the vision was and what I wanted to be and what, they've happened because, it's just consistent effort and doing it. And, it is gradual. I think the thing with coaching is it's not always quick wins. Sometimes it takes time to have those few light bulb moments. But I do feel that I've definitely got my dream team in place and that we've extended. I've gone from 2 employees to I think I've got 5 now. So it's and the additional services. So it's but I think the bit it's me as a person. Like I'm completely different.
Yeah. So what services are you sort of like pushing right now, or what sort of things are you doing that are going to be able to add value during this time of businesses? Because I think it was yesterday or the day before we've got like an opening sort of schedule or structure. What do you think?
Well, it's obviously been quite tricky for us because our niche is tourism and destination marketing and hospitality. So it's up until now it's been guiding people, really just helping kind of understand. We've got a destination think sprint running on Thursday morning, which is an online workshop, which again is something that I've always wanted to do. It's all the content's been in my head for a while, but it's like, no, actually it's so relevant for now. So kind of getting that out. So that's happening on Thursday. But then we've got all those services. We've also got SEO as well. And we're going to be launching some training and audit workshops as well, because one thing we know is everyone's doing sort of online, moving to online shopping, but not necessarily all the sites are search ready. People can't find what they necessarily want. So and then sort of social media as well in terms of messaging and that messaging of you're open again.
Yeah.
And we know that the messaging needs to include the elements of health and safety, cleanliness, all of those things. But how did you get that across? And still in an enticing way, do you want people to visit, but not to scare? Like it's finding that balance. Right, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting, but there's gonna be lots of lots of opportunity for everyone, especially in terms of like marketing once we get back open, and people are gonna they need to be marketing more than ever now, right?
And no marketing plan from before this is relevant really anymore. It's all change. And that's kind of what the think sprint, and then coming out of that's just a process of taking people through their USPs, their unique emotional points, their avatars, their assets, to say actually now this is your plan and this is how you drive forward with it. And they're short burst plans because everything's changing so quickly. We can't plan for a year's time really at all. Who knows? So.
Yeah, things are gonna change, but ultimately if the business isn't growing, it's in decline, and that ultimately dying, right? So businesses just need to be putting the foot down on the gas now that we've got some sort of like rough dates to stick to. We need to be putting the foot down on the gas in terms of getting marketing in place, looking at what the sales process needs to look like, going forward. You know, if it's destination, if it's like restaurants or hoteliers, and what there's going to be capacity limits. There's going to be so how does that work? Maybe for like menus, I'd be getting all the menus on mobile phones, so that people, if they're going into a restaurant, they might not want to pick up the menu that somebody else has touched. All that sort of stuff. How you're going to flow it in, making sure people feel safe, constant communication when you're going to open. Are you going to have, you got reduced number of people in? Are you going to have a smaller menu so it's easier to buy the all these sort of things that you need to have in place? What's the social distancing measures? How does the business look if we can only do 50% of the covers in the restaurant? If people are still furloughed and off work, what lunchtime is, dinners, all these types of things that you need to consider.
Yeah, it's the thinking space to be able to do that as well, and properly plan and not be in panic mode, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the trick. Yeah, and hopefully going on that session, it's gives them that time to, you can ask them questions, them objective questions, and give them that guidance and that experience that you've got about how you think it's going to go.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So lastly, how can people find out about you and what you do?
So so in terms of like content that I'm putting out, the main platform I'm using right now is LinkedIn. So we're doing podcasts every week, and you can message me directly on there. Or if you just type into Google ActionCOACH Liverpool, I'll be one of the first, or should be the first person that come up, or on my pages should come up, due to the amazing SEO work that you've done over the years. So just in Google type, Luke K ActionCOACH or ActionCOACH Liverpool. I'll be one of the first people to come up there, and then if not on LinkedIn, add me on LinkedIn, Luke K, and that's where I'm posting my regular content, podcasts with loads of different types of people, and sharing a lot of stuff there. And that's where doing a lot of webinars as well. We've got a huge webinar series about to be launched as well, with all different types of stuff going on. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of activity. We've been using this time to sort of I can't mean doing as much social stuff outside of work. I've just been working full tilt, just getting as much things in place, and that, like, how can we add more value? What's going to like when we come out of this? And yeah, there's gonna be a lot of like interesting content for everyone. We've got like downloads coming. I said we've got the podcast. We've got some loads of like massive free webinar series that we're running. So you've got all sorts coming out. It's gonna be interesting.
Cool. Well, I will keep sharing up as well, because it's ace.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leslie, thank you for all that you've done for me and the Marketing Collective as well. Because yeah, as I say, I wouldn't be half as like okay if I hadn't been through all those processes. So yeah, hats off to ActionCOACH. Yeah.
Pleasure.